Beloved, I am truly glad you are here, and I want you to receive these words slowly, without rushing past them. Let me begin with a thought that may surprise you, because it gently dismantles something many of us were taught for years. For so long, faith was presented as something that only mattered when it was visible. We were shown images of heaven responding to grand gestures, public prayers spoken with perfect words, sacrifices that could be witnessed, measured, and applauded. We were led to believe that if faith was not loud, it must be weak. If it was not confident at all times, it must be flawed. If it trembled or questioned, it must somehow be unworthy. Yet there is a deeper truth, one that rarely gets spoken aloud because it does not fit neatly into performance or spectacle. Heaven is deeply attentive to the quiet moments of your life. It listens where the world scrolls past. It notices what never makes it into conversation. Heaven sees the small yeses whispered in your heart when no one else can hear them. It sees the sacred decisions you make in the private chambers of your soul, moments when there is no audience, no reward, no reassurance. Heaven noticed when you chose silence, not because you were afraid to speak, but because you understood that explaining yourself would only drain your peace. It noticed the strength it took to walk away from conversations that demanded you shrink or justify your truth. It saw you leave early, not to escape people, but because your energy felt holy that night, and you chose to protect it. It witnessed your forgiveness, offered not because the wound was small, but because your soul deserved freedom more than it deserved vindication. Scripture reminds us that the Lord looks at the heart, not at appearances. 1 Samuel 16:7 tells us that clearly. And in those unseen moments, heaven did not respond with noise or spectacle, but with reverence, a quiet reverence rooted in truth. There is a rare kind of clarity that only forms when you have been misunderstood. It sharpens something within you. It strips away illusion. It teaches you what matters and what never did. This clarity does not come from being endlessly explained or finally approved by others. It comes from standing still long enough to hear your own truth rise above the noise. Alongside it, there is a strength that grows in silence. Not the kind of strength that demands attention or validation, but the kind that holds steady when no one is watching, when there is nothing to gain by being strong. The world may have missed these moments entirely, but heaven never did. Most people are chasing something without realizing what it truly is. They believe they are chasing a career, a relationship, a title, financial security, or recognition. They believe the next milestone will finally quiet the restlessness inside them. But beneath all of that striving is a deeper longing, one they often cannot name. They are longing for inner alignment, for that calm certainty that whispers, "This is right, this is mine, this is where I belong." And here is the quiet miracle. That feeling does not come from finally being seen by others. It comes from finally seeing yourself without distortion, without shame, without apology. Lately, you have been doing that more than you realize, even when the next step feels unclear. You are no longer falling back into old patterns simply because they are familiar. You are moving with a different rhythm now, not because someone instructed you to change, not because you were forced or pressured, but because you learned to trust the wisdom already placed inside you. Scripture says, "In their hearts humans plan their course, but the Lord establishes their steps." Proverbs 16:9. You are walking those steps even when they feel small, even when they feel almost invisible. From the outside, your life may not look dramatic. You may not have quit everything overnight or started over in a way that others can easily puai. Too, you may not have cut people off publicly or moved far away. There may be no obvious before and after moment to explain what has changed, but inside, something profound shifted. You stopped asking for permission to feel what you feel. You stopped searching for reassurance before honoring your intuition. You stopped negotiating with your own inner knowing. You began choosing peace even when your ego craved noise, attention, or reaction. And heaven pays attention to that kind of courage. Angels do not only gather for spectacle. They do not only move when something looks impressive to human eyes. They gather when truth settles gently into a soul. They gather when someone stops performing in order to be loved and starts living from love instead. They gather when someone becomes still enough to hear God in the quiet. Be still and know that I am God. Psalm 46:10 reminds us. Stillness is not emptiness. It is awareness. It is presence. It is trust. You have been learning that. Stillness. Sometimes, without even realizing it. You have probably noticed people who look successful by the world's standards. The photos, the milestones, the applause, the constant motion. And yet, many of them are exhausted, quietly disconnected, chasing a version of joy that was never meant for them. They are running after what sparkles, not what sustains.
They are busy proving something while slowly losing touch with themselves. Your joy was never meant to be earned through approval. It was meant to be felt through alignment.
Every quiet choice you made mattered. Lighting a candle just to breathe, sitting with yourself instead of numbing out, saying no to chaos even when chaos felt familiar, not reaching out one more time to prove your worth, not explaining your boundaries. These were sacred moments. Each one was a declaration, even if it was never spoken aloud. And each time heaven nodded in recognition. You are not here to compete with what the world celebrates. You are here to become what heaven already knows you are.
You are not chasing stages or platforms. You are walking altars, invisible ones, built out of daily choices, and that changes everything.
If it feels like your life still has not fully arrived yet, if it feels like your effort has not caught up to the vision you carry inside, let me tell you this gently and without pressure. That does not mean nothing is happening. Long before fruit appears, the roots are already alive.
They are already stretching. They are already speaking in ways you cannot yet see. Your life is moving in ways that are quiet and steady, not to impress anyone,
but to become what it was always meant to be. And while the world may overlook that kind of movement, the spiritual realm never does.
That one choice you made in silence mattered. The moment you chose restraint instead of reaction, faith instead of panic, truth instead of comfort, something shifted.
Angels did not just notice it. They rejoiced because alignment carries weight in the unseen realm. Heaven responds to alignment, not performance. For too long, you were taught that progress only counts if it is visible, if it can be posted, measured, or compared. But that was never your path, and it was never heaven's standard. Heaven does not follow trends. It moves according to truth. And right now, something is being formed within you that runs so deep you may not even have language for it yet. But heaven sees it clearly.
The angels have witnessed the rewiring taking place within you. They have seen the unlearning, the release of old beliefs that once kept you small. They have seen the quiet courage it took to sit alone in your car and choose not to spiral, to breathe instead of breaking.
They saw the moment you looked at your reflection and decided, even imperfectly, to believe in who you are. Even without external validation, they stood in witness.
Not because it looked dramatic, but because it was real. This is not surface-level change. This is not a
temporary adjustment. This is alignment with your divine nature, the version of you that exists beneath fear, beneath conditioning, beneath expectation. In the spiritual realm, the loudest sound is not applause or noise. It is the resonance of a soul returning to truth, the steady frequency of someone finally living from the inside out, even when no one else is watching.
It is the sound of a soul returning to truth. It does not shake buildings or demand attention. It does not echo through microphones or announce itself with spectacle.
Yet it moves heaven in ways that are deeper than noise ever could. It is subtle, almost imperceptible to the natural eye, like an ancient code being reactivated within you. Something placed there long before disappointment taught you to doubt yourself, long before fear learned your name. Scripture tells us, faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of things not seen. Hebrews 11:1. What is happening within you right now is evidence, even if you cannot yet point to it or explain it to anyone else. Here is a truth that few people say out loud. The most sacred moments often look ordinary from the outside. There is no lightning splitting the sky, no fire falling from heaven, no sudden applause. There is simply a quiet decision to listen to your spirit even when your mind is loud. A willingness to pause instead of panic. A choice to honor what feels true instead of what feels familiar. There is no dramatic exit scene, no announcement made. Just the quiet strength to walk away from what you know is not love without needing revenge, without needing recognition, without needing to be understood. There is a small, steady loyalty to your soul that shows up when no one else is watching. And those are the moments heaven honors most. Have you noticed how lately you are not as reactive as you once were? How the same words no longer pull you into the same storms? How you no longer beg God for proof at every turn, demanding answers before you take a step? How you have stopped explaining your growth to people who only know your past? That is not weakness. That is maturity taking root. That is becoming. Heaven has been watching this subtle shift in you, the way you now choose grace over chaos, trust over control, peace over proving. These choices may look small, but they carry great spiritual weight. That last decision you made, the one no one understood, the one you took, even while your hands were shaking, even while fear whispered its warnings, that was the moment. That was the point of alignment. That was when something shifted. Heaven took notice and said, look at this one. They chose truth again. They chose alignment over comfort. They chose integrity over ease. And when that choice was made, something in the unseen realm moved into position. So if your surroundings still look the same, if the external world has not caught up yet, do not mistake that for stagnation. Spirit always moves before matter. What is happening now is not meant to make sense to everyone. Some things are too sacred to be explained too early. Your steps are leaving imprints in places you cannot yet see. You are being recorded in the realm of truth, and what was done in silence will eventually speak for itself. Scripture reminds us, "Let us not grow weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up." Galatians 6:9. The harvest is forming not because you forced it, but because you trusted. You trusted that peace was enough when chaos tried to tempt you. You trusted that staying faithful to who you are, even in confusion, was powerful. You trusted the quiet guidance within you when the path was not visible and the map made no sense. That trust created a shift, and that is why you feel lighter now. That is why things that once triggered you no longer have the same grip. That is why you can sit in stillness without fear rushing in to fill the space. Those changes did not come for noise. They came from your last unseen move. Angels did not need a spotlight to feel it. They felt the sincerity, the purity, the sacredness of it. They felt the moment you stopped waiting for permission and started honoring what God was already stirring inside you. You did not wait for confirmation, you became it. You embodied the answer you were once asking for. What comes next will not be built by doing more or pushing harder. It will be built by trusting deeper, by allowing what is forming within you to continue unfolding without interference, by staying rooted in truth even when progress feels slow. Heaven sees you in this place. Heaven recognizes the courage it takes to walk a path that is quiet and unseen. Every internal shift, every unseen choice, every moment of restraint instead of reaction has mattered more than you know. You are no longer trying to prove your worth through effort or endurance. You are learning to walk in it. Scripture says, "Whoever is faithful in little will be faithful in much." Luke 16:10. And right now, faithfulness looks like consistency in the unseen. It looks like integrity when no one is applauding. It looks like continuing to walk even when the road feels quiet and the silence feels long, even when no one claps, even when no one comments, even when no one seems to notice. Heaven is walking with you. There is guidance surrounding you that you cannot yet see. There is protection operating in ways you may never fully understand. Where you are headed next is not just better in the way the world defines better. It is aligned. It is resonant. It is what your spirit has been waiting for beneath all the striving and searching. You are no longer searching for God as though he were distant or hidden. You are learning to recognize his presence in stillness, in breath, in discernment, in peace that does not depend on circumstances. You are standing in that presence even now, held in ways that are gentle, seen in ways that are intimate, becoming in ways that are sacred and ongoing. And as you continue standing in this place of quiet awareness, something else begins to happen that is easy to miss if you are not paying attention. You start to realize that the old urgency is fading. The pressure to arrive, to become, to achieve, to finally be enough starts loosening its grip. Not because you gave up, but because you finally understood that becoming was never meant to feel like a chase. It was meant to feel like a remembering, a gentle unfolding rather than a desperate pursuit. Heaven has been patient with you through every season of forgetting, and now it is witnessing your return. There is a tenderness in the way your spirit is learning to trust again. Not a blind trust, not the kind that ignores wisdom, but a grounded trust that comes from discernment. You have learned the difference between intuition and impulse, between peace and avoidance, between stillness and stagnation. That discernment did not come easily. It was forged through moments when you had to sit with discomfort instead of running from it. Moments when answers did not arrive quickly. Moments when faith felt more like endurance than excitement. Those moments shaped you in ways that applause never could. You may notice now that you are less interested in convincing others and more committed to being honest with yourself. You are less reactive to misunderstanding and more anchored in what you know to be true. Silence no longer feels like punishment. It feels like protection. Solitude no longer feels like rejection. It feels like refinement. Even the waiting has taken on a different texture. It is no longer empty. It is full of preparation, full of alignment, full of unseen movement. Heaven understands seasons. It understands pauses. It understands that not every chapter is meant to be loud or visible. Some chapters exist solely to recalibrate your spirit, to realign your heart with truth, to restore what was drained by years of striving or surviving. You are in one of those chapters now, a chapter where less is required of you outwardly, but much is happening inwardly. And that inward work is sacred.
There are things being untangled within you that you once thought were part of your identity. Old fears, old narratives, old coping mechanisms that once kept you safe but can no longer take you where you are going. Heaven is gently loosening their hold, not through force, but through awareness. You are beginning to see them clearly, without judgment, without shame. And in seeing them clearly, you are no longer ruled by them. You may have noticed how your prayers have changed. They are no longer long explanations or desperate pleas. Sometimes they are just a breath. Sometimes they are just honesty. Sometimes they are just presence. And that is enough. God is not measuring your spirituality by the length of your words. He is responding to the sincerity of your heart. The quiet "I trust you" carries more weight than 1,000 frantic requests. There is also a humility growing in you that feels different from self-doubt. It is not shrinking, it is grounding. You are learning that you do not have to know everything, fix everything, or carry everything. You are learning to release control without losing responsibility, to surrender outcomes while remaining faithful to your values. This balance is rare, and heaven recognizes it. You may not see it yet, but the way you are living now is creating space. Space for clarity, space for right connections, space for opportunities that align with who you are becoming, not who you are forced to be. Some doors are not opening yet because timing matters. Not everything that is good now. Heaven is protecting you from premature expansion, from blessings that would arrive before you were ready to steward them with peace. Notice how you are more selective with your energy, how you no longer feel obligated to attend every conflict, every argument, every emotional demand. This is not avoidance. This is wisdom. You are learning that not every invitation deserves your presence, and not every battle deserves your voice. Jesus himself walked away from crowds, withdrew to quiet places, and remained silent before accusation. Stillness has always been holy. You are also learning to trust your body again, to listen when it asks for rest, to honor when it signals overload. Burnout no longer feels like a badge of honor, it feels like a warning. And heaven is pleased with this shift, because stewardship includes caring for the vessel you were given. Rest is not laziness, it is alignment. There are moments now when gratitude rises without effort, not because everything is perfect, but because you can sense that you are supported, that you are not drifting aimlessly, that even when clarity is partial, direction is present. These moments are quiet confirmations, gentle reminders that you are being guided even when the path bends in ways you did not expect. You may also feel a growing compassion, not just for others, but for yourself. You are beginning to forgive the version of you who did not know better, who made choices from fear, who stayed too long, who tried too hard. This self-compassion is healing layers you did not realize were still tender. Heaven rejoices when you extend grace inward, because grace multiplies when it is received. What you are experiencing now is integration, the merging of faith and wisdom, of spirituality and self-awareness, of trust and discernment. You are no longer splitting yourself into parts to survive, you are becoming whole. And wholeness is powerful even when it is quiet. There will be moments ahead when doubt tries to revisit, when old voices try to question your pace or your progress. But something is different now. You do not collapse when doubt appears, you observe it, you listen, then you choose. This is growth. This is strength that does not need to announce itself. Heaven, Conti. News, to walk with you through this unseen terrain. Not rushing you, not pressuring you, not comparing you to anyone else. Your journey is not behind. It is precise. Every delay has served a purpose. Every pause has protected something. Every quiet season has been preparing you for clarity that lasts, not excitement that fades. And even now, as you breathe, as you listen, as you simply remain present with these words, something continues to settle into place. Not all at once, not dramatically, but truly, deeply, gently,